up because he's gonna have pink hair on. But might as well have a little bit, right? I mean, if it's there and you can't see it, that's cool. But if you can see it and it does show through, that would be even more cool, I think. So the point of my story about my oldest son was that I now have my youngest son in here, and I just have this feeling that who knows what's going to come out of him hanging out with me, you know? He's a creative boy also. He's not a big fan of music at all. He loves building, he loves constructing, he loves creating things with his hands. He loves learning, and he loves animals. He loves robotics. So he's, I think, probably going to be a little bit more cerebral. I have 2 artist children, and then I have, my daughter was, she was creative, but her strength was, science, I would say. Her passion was food science, which not a lot of people know about. But food science is really cool. She wanted to go to Cornell to do flavors. That was a passion of hers. She wanted to invent flavors and create flavors and work with that kind of stuff, which I think is mind-boggling. I'm not sure where that came from or how you get that kind of idea. But she was also always one of those kids who enjoyed cooking in the kitchen. She loved cooking and she was really good at it, but she liked the science of it. And she was a purist. I mean, if you said, what do you want to make? And she said ravioli, you can bet we were not going to go to Costco to buy some frozen ravioli. We were going to be buying some really good semolina flour, a pasta machine, and making our own pesto from scratch. It's just the way she loved to do things. So she's, I think, a good combination of the creative and kind of that math and science mind. My oldest daughter is an artist. She's a 2-dimensional artist. Her specialty is graphic design, and she does murals, and she also does absolutely amazing illustrations. She's got this wicked sense of humor, and she always makes these like little comics and stuff for us for birthdays and Christmases, and they're hilarious. I mean, they're so flash. I have never known a person who laughs as much as she does. She just loves laughing. She's a lot of fun. She's super fun. And then Noah, he is a musician through and through, an artist in every cell of his body. And now we have my youngest, who we're still trying to figure out what his talent is. I'm a firm believer that everybody is born with gifts and talents. I really believe that the universe puts us here on purpose and that we come here with what we need. And I guess you could spend your whole life ignoring that or not honoring that, and that's your choice, but it's there. So I'm starting to add a little pink. I'm going to stop here because I want to cook this baby before I add a pink layer. I was just trying to decide whether or not pink or blue was better in the nose, and I think that pink is, but I'm going to put a little blue down at the bottom just to give it some depth. I am kind of excited. So I'm going to do the limbs, pop them in the oven, come back, and we'll do some pink. And you might want to see how the veining went. It's pretty subtle. I kind of like it. I'm not sure you'll see it. And on the hands and feet, I don't think I'm going to be able to do veining because it has all this engraved texture on it that I guess is supposed to look like fur. And so if I try to do the veins, the line is going to break and it's going to look super messy. And I have to address that little tiny thing. I think I'll just put a spot of flesh on there for a few bakes and just treat it like I'm, covering a pimple with makeup. I know that's crude, but that's what I got. So we'll see in a few minutes. And I'm using this kind of rosy color, like a vintage rose color, and I'm using some red for some of this creasing. And it might seem a little redundant to put that on over the blue, but I think the blue is giving him a little bit of depth. Just my opinion. I don't know if I'm right. We'll find out as we move along here. And I'm using a lot of this rose color because I noticed on Snowflake, the real albino gorilla, he has a lot of that purpley undertone to his skin. Even though he doesn't have pigment, he still has circulation running under his skin, so there is a color. And you can use lots of colors for depth. I mean, you can use browns and purples and rose colors and rust colors. It just depends what you're going for. And really, you know, honestly, the great thing about this sculpt is that there's so much, I did a little mistake there. There's so much creasing and deep creasing that it kind of does a lot of the work for you. You don't have to create the illusion because the illusion's already there. And I just wanted to put a little shadow right here under the lip to accentuate it. Just going to put a little bit more blue under these eyes and around here. And I'm using this sponge to kind of wipe off the paint. And also one side has a little bit of thinner and one side is dry. So if I really need to get some of that paint off, I use the wet side. And if I just need to kind of push it into the vinyl a little bit, I'll use the dry side. And right now I'm just going by feel. I'm just looking at this and thinking, where would I like some shadows? Where would I like some depth? Oops, I used the wet side on accident. And I guess you could create a kind of really deep purple color so you wouldn't have to do 2 layers. You could just do 1. But I like having a little bit more control. And I like doing layers. I like the depth it creates. I like the control. And I like having maybe a little bit more red and a little less blue and a little more blue and a little less red in different places. I think that's what makes it look a little more interesting, is that it's not the same everywhere. Here's some forehead creases I'm going to take care of real quick. Ooh, that's a lot. So when that happens, don't panic. Pat it out, get it in those creases, and then use the wet side and kind of clean it up a little bit. Sometimes mistakes are just happy little accidents. You don't have to worry about them too much. You never know what's going to happen. Genesis is so forgiving until you bake it. After you bake it, it's hard to get off. But before you bake, you could do this a million times until you get it just the way you like it. And now let's pink up those ears a little bit. I love pink ears. I don't know what it is about them. They just look happy. It's the one thing I am struggling with. I'm sculpting a baby right now and I'm really struggling with ears. They're so complex in their shape to me. So I just keep doing them and doing them over and doing them over until I get the right ear. And I'm doing both at the same time, so they're both the same size. So whatever I do to one ear, I do to the other ear. Look at that, that's kind of cool, I think. And I'm just doing a little bit of red in the back. Just a teeny bit, mostly for shading. Oh, okay, I think I got the second ear done. I think that looks okay. And although I know that this doesn't need it, really. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to give it a little bit of red modeling. And you probably won't be able to see it once I put a flesh layer on. I'm going to go super light. But again, I think adding some depth and dimension can only be a good thing, you know? I don't think you can go wrong. That's like having too much whipped cream. There's no such thing as too much whipped cream. It's the good stuff. So I think this is a little bit too red here. I think the painting part is going to go by super fast. I think the hair painting and the rooting is what's going to take most of the time. I kind of like that. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a model here with some pinky, dark red pinky model. Again, I'm not going to do it thick, and I don't think it's going to show up through the flesh layer. But I'm going to put it on anyway. That will dry, and it won't look very, very mottled in a few minutes. I will continue here with feet. And I think what I'm going to do after I do some pink on this is after baking it, I'm going to do a yellow wash, because I noticed there was a lot of that yellow, especially on the hands and the feet. So I'm going to do that. Albino just doesn't mean just white. It just means a different combination of colors that don't include a lot of brown. This is very interesting vinyl. This is the foot. I'm kind of jealous of this foot. Just imagine all the things I could do around the house if I had a foot like this. I mean, it would be like having 4 hands. I could fold laundry twice as fast. I could drive and knit. I don't know, I don't knit, but you know what I mean. You could multitask if you had feet like, I mean, if your feet were like this, imagine all the cool stuff you could do. And I'm just getting in those creases best I can. And I won't make you watch me do all the hands and feet. I thought I would just do one of the feet and let you see that work out. So as I've said before, reborn painting is just all about putting paint on and taking paint off. Like Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. That's what we're doing. You're depositing paint into creases, and you're staining vinyl. And I probably don't pat or pounce as much as I should. I mostly rub and scrub. Everybody has their own way. And a thing that's super valuable is a dry moppy sponge or something like this. It really softens out that creasing. I just never remember to grab one. And I might go over the same spot over and over and over again until it feels right. So there's the little foot so far.